Welcome to Genuine Healing on News for the Soul, where real transformation unfolds in real time. Join world-renowned energy healer Jen Ward and Marvin Schneider live every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time and available worldwide across all major podcast platforms. Each episode explores the deeper patterns shaping your life and works directly to clear them so that you can live a life of passion and purpose in higher consciousness. If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode, visit genuinehealing.com/on-air and register your interest to join Jen and Marvin on air on one of their upcoming healing topic episodes. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is not just someone else's story. It's a reflection of what may be ready to shift within you.
Hello, you're listening to Genuine Healing on News for the Soul with your hosts, me, Marvin Schneider.
And me, Jen Ward. Hi, everybody. Hi, Marvin.
Hi, Jen. Hi. Thanks to the listener for tuning in. We go live every Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific time for those that are in that part of the world. We are also archived on the News for the Soul network, and apparently we are on archives streamed on your favorite podcast platform. We also go up on YouTube and on the Genuine Healing website. We've got a whole archive of all of our videos. So there's a lot of content out there. Thank you for joining us, Jen. Today we've got a fairly special episode. We've got a number of people in the studio with us that we're going to bring in and have a conversation with. We'll do a little bit of a live healing with one particular person, and another one has been working with us for, well, a long time. And so we're going to be talking about her experience and all of the energy work. In the last episode, Jen, we were talking a little bit about spiritual etiquette and what it's like to be able to the kind of etiquette that works best within an energy healing environment, particularly for those that were a bit sensitive. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go ahead and do that. That was the last week's episode. But this morning, you said you had a particular insight that you wanted to talk about before we bring some people into the studio with us.
Yeah, but what's interesting is before we come on to do a recording or anything with people, I usually get some kind of wisdom to share, right? So this morning, I was getting this diatribe on the brain and how the brain is one of the most fantastic computers on the planet. That's why the AI takeover is so silly, because one human brain can supersede any AI, no matter what. So anyways, but people need to exercise their brains. And what it is the brain is never as happy as when a person is in their formative years and they're like babies and young adults and they're growing and thriving and everything's a new experience. That's where the brain is at its highest. It loves taking in information, and it can take in so much information and process it. What happens to the brain is when people stop pulling in new experiences, when they shut down for some reason. Oh, don't do this, don't do that, whatever. Or they have trouble learning in a regular way, they shut down. And so that the brain just takes the information that it already has, it's accrued from its short physical life, and ruminates it and replays it and tries to get new information out of it. And this actually becomes like a sickness in society. My sense is these frustrated children who end up being like shooters in the classroom is because they're not learning in a traditional way and their brain is shut down. So all it's doing is back looping all the experience they've had and magnifying all these negative experiences until the brain wants new experiences. So it can't take it anymore. So it forces the individual to go out and get a new experience. Well, shooting your classmates is a new experience. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative to the brain. It just wants more information.
So what you said is, and not that we're advocating going out and shooting your classmates, far from it. But what you're saying is that the brain requires stimulation. and it will go to any lengths to get that stimulation. And sometimes it will reach into positive experiences, and other times it will reach into negative experiences. The brain doesn't care, but you as a soul might care. And so the thing is that as a eternal soul, one of the things that you need to do is to exercise the brain. The brain is like any other muscle. And in fact, I think I read somewhere that the brain is one of the most prolific muscles in the body. And so you do need to exercise it. You do need to give it experiences. And can I say that in, I think, either the first or the second episode of this series, we were talking about what the purpose of life is from a sort of bigger picture perspective. And at a kind of universal level, the purpose of an incarnated existence is to accumulate experiences so that you add to universal consciousness, right? So if universal consciousness requires the addition of experiences, then at a more micro level, you as an incarnated soul thrives on those experiences. Now, some of the unfortunate things is that for some people, dare I say a lot of people, a lot of those experiences in formative years aren't necessarily all that positive. And then the brain, the psyche, the ego starts kind of ramping up, taking control. And then it becomes a little bit more challenging to sort of focus on positive experiences. And what you said, Jen, that's really important, is that when you stop exercising your brain in that way, because it needs to do something, it will ruminate on things that are not helpful and not in your highest and best interests.
Right. And so what parents can do if they have a child who's not a book learner, whatever, the child needs to be stimulated some way. There's so many different forms of learning besides book learning. There's hands-on, there's like musical, there's creativity and whatever. You have to, if you have a child that is not a book learner, you have to get them into a program or a means where they can learn and be stimulated in a way that they can process it, because it's very important to their development. Another thing that came through this morning is that this is when people start aging or start decaying a little bit, is when they stop getting new information. I think that's when aging takes hold of people, because they don't have anything to feed their brain, and so they're stuck. And so what happens is then they start to ruminate in the past. Like, I have people on social media who always put in pictures of their dead relatives, and they're honoring their high school sweetheart or something way from the past. They're trying to glean new information, new feelings from an old past experience, but they're doing it wrong. What they're doing is they're trying to pull everyone into the past. The only reason to have these past memories is to learn from them. So here's a novel idea. I think it's really profound, is if you must do that, if you must, think about someone who's crossed from the past, don't pull yourself into the past with them. What you do is pull that experience into the present somehow. And it's like, what's an example of that? There's no example of that I can give except for this one. Like someone like Mr. Rogers, died like, I don't know, about 10 years ago or so. I don't know. But his message was very pure. So if you can, if you're going to fixate on someone from the past, bring his message of kindness into the present instead of trying to bring everyone back into the timeline that he was at. Does that make sense? Can you say it a little different?
Probably not on the Mr. Rogers scenario, because I actually don't know who he is. As an Australian, we weren't brought up on Mr. Rogers. But look, I think the broader point here is that once you get past trauma and pain and any other issues that are affecting your day-to-day lives, and there are a lot of people with very real pain points. Let's be honest about that. And part of this series, Genuine Healing on News for the Soul, we are inviting people to join us on air with us, and you will help them do some healing on some of those pain points. So, getting over those pain points is really important. And once you are on the other side of it, then what you have an opportunity to do is to live a fulfilling, dare I say, spiritual life. But if you're not a spiritualist, don't really worry about that. It's not meant to be foo-foo. It's really just living a life of passion and purpose so that you can experience joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success, and wholeness. That's our intention for 8 billion people on the planet. That's what we call individual empowerment or divine empowerment. And the real question is, how do you get there? And so for a lot of people that are stuck in the consequences of not having positive human experiences in this incarnation, there is a lot of healing to take place. And Jen, you are in fact an energy healer. You're probably one of the best in the world that I know of. And so there's a lot of work to be done at the healing level. But beyond that, there's an ongoing program of self-enrichment and wellness. And I think that's what you're tapping into at the moment. One of the aspects of ongoing self-enrichment and wellness is to exercise the brain, the mind in a positive way.
Yeah, that's great, Paige. And the thing about the past memories is like a lot of people ruminate in the past, their glory years or whatever. And a lot of the listener here is getting mind effed about the past. So what I wanted to do is give them a real tool. The reason you're ruminating in the past is to find some wisdom. The brain is looking for any wisdoms or insights that you missed in the present time. So if you are getting inundated with past memories of like your childhood, your abusive parents, whatever, you can use those in a positive way for the present. And what you do is when you're looking at a past experience, don't go into the vantage point like of when you were a child. Go into that same experience as the overseer and watch yourself as a child and glean what you missed as a child. Well, my mother was yelling at me all the time. She seemed to hate me. Now go in there as an adult and say, well, she was under a lot of stress. She was getting abused. She was like stressed about finances. It wasn't you. You were a safe place for her to let out her issues. So if you take that information from the past and pull it into the present, it can actually empower you in the present. And once you get the truth from that experience, that engram, you can like slough it off like a tissue paper and you never have to revisit it again. And that's how you move through your engrams. And it's really empowering to do that.
So other than doing individual private healing sessions, and of course, we've got our 12-week transformation program as well, where you work with people over extended periods of time to help them navigate a fairly fundamental life transition. Those do require a reasonable financial commitment to participate in, but part of your broader service to humanity, you did bring or put into place a series of SFT tapping protocols as a practical tool that people can use any day, any moment they want to help them navigate a self-healing process if they're not able to work with you directly. So can you quickly describe the SFT tapping protocols? We did a whole show on that, so go back to the archives. But for those that are listening in real time right now, why don't you just give us a quick overview of the SFT tapping protocols and how those can be used for those that are feeling real pain points right now?
Sure. So the SFT protocol was given to me tap by tap by the adepts as we worked together to figure out what was holding people in lower consciousness. And there's like the karma of other things, the guilt, the loss of energy. People take their energy. So the SFT tapping protocol is a bunch of incantations or invocations that tap into the brain, this dynamic brain of yours, and affirm to shift the consciousness of the whole being through the sentence. Now, if you just say these statements without tapping into the brain and making the brain pay attention, the ego will take hold and it'll affirm the opposite. Like I could say, like, I'm a beautiful 22-year-old. And then the ego will say, you're not that. You're just this. You're whatever. Whatever the ego can do to counter that positive statement, it will do. So the only safe way to get these affirmations into the brain to shift your consciousness is through the SFT tapping. And SFT stands for Spiritual Freedom Technique. There's EFT, which is Emotional Freedom Technique, but you're so much more than your emotions. You're all your experiences, you're all that you bring to the table. So there's a lot left on the table if you're only doing emotional freedom techniques.
So I actually want to pick up a little bit. I think you didn't do the full justice and service on SFT tapping from that description. So mechanically, SFT tapping is repeating a series of affirmations while tapping on various parts of the body. And so let's say there's a particular affirmation that you want to invoke, then you would repeat that affirmation 3 times while continuously tapping on the top of the head. That's tapping into the brain bit. Then a 4th time while continuously tapping on the chest. That's putting it into your heart chakra. And a 5th time while continuously tapping on the abdomen. So mechanically, the tapping works through repeating affirmations while tapping on the head, the chest, and the abdomen. That's the mechanics of it. But the tapping is way more than the mechanics of it, because Jen, you're an energy healer. You shift energy.
Yeah.
You basically observe past life engrams that are getting in the way of someone experiencing joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success. And you use tapping as a way to tap into their energy field, and the affirmations and the process of doing the tapping on the head, the chest, the abdomen is a mechanism to direct the energies so that you can shift those energies. So it is an energy healing technique. It's not just mantra repetition or
Yeah.
affirmation repetition, because that's just performative stuff. We're not doing performative stuff here. We are actually shifting energy.
Okay, so from a shaman point of view is, yes, I'm a shaman and I move energy very efficiently. And so what the SFT tapping is doing when I'm working with a client, they have these issues, but they're not storing these issues in one little cute little box in their body somewhere. Sometimes it's in an issue that's giving them pain, but it's like this cloud of negativity that they think is them. So when we do the SFT tapping, when I do it with a client, we're collecting all that cloud and dissipating it. So it's not even an issue anymore. And you know what? Oh, by the way, after that cloud is gone, there's another issue that comes up to the forefront. And this is what you keep on doing. And it's almost like a box of tissues. Your issues are a box of tissues. And what you do is you pull one off and then another one will come off. And you've had millions of lifetimes, so this could go on forever. But what I do in private sessions is we take whole, boxes, crates, cargo loads of the issue from all your lifetimes and do it at once. So it's really profound in getting rid of all this energy.
The other important thing about the SFT tapping protocols that you have created alongside your spirit guides and adepts is that it allows the individual, the client, the person that is suffering, that wants some relief, it gives them an ability to take a proactive approach to their own healing. So as profound as it is in working with you as part of the healing process, think of them working with you. You are the facilitator in helping them in their healing process, but the client is doing a lot of things. And by the way, the client has to do a lot of things to impact and enact their own healing. So it's not, have you ever heard the term sin eater?
Yeah, I've been called a Sunita a few times.
Right. So, but my point is that you're actually not a sin eater. So, a sin eater is someone that takes on someone else's issues or pain or whatever, and the client gets relief, and basically all that pain transfers onto you. You're not a sin eater. What
No.
you're doing, and so basically, you're not here to take the pain, the issue, the trauma away from the person, and the person just sits there passively and gets relief. It doesn't work that way. What you're doing is you're facilitating a shift of stagnant energy, and the client has a role to play in that. And the SFT
Right.
tapping is an important part of doing that. That's the important point that I wanted to make about that.
Right. And there's subtleties in that. Like a client can get the relief of a sin eater if they cooperate. So when I'm doing a private session, it's not just me talking to another personality on the end of that line. It's like I'm talking to their higher self, I'm talking to their ego, I'm seeing all their past lives, I'm seeing trajectories. And as some of the clients do the taps with me, I can see these trajectories shift in real time, and it's really rewarding. But the most thing, there's different levels of cooperation, and the first thing I have to do is stop fighting the person's ego. And you see it when we're in the sessions and someone's trying to like be funny or outsmart me or push me off or say no. They're all fighting the energy work. So it's basically we need them to relax their atoms and allow the process to happen. That's the first level. And the more that they do the SFT taps and the more they take this seriously, the more they is it's inducive of them getting the relief they want because they're not just saying, I'll just go through the motions. That can help to up to a point and get rid of, some issues. But at the point of shifting them fundamentally so they go from a total asshole to an empowered being, they need to cooperate.
There is an element of cooperation, obviously, because it is a very intimate relationship between you as the healer and the client, and so there's a lot of real energy shifting dynamics that goes on. The other thing that I just want to come back to this point of self accountability in the healing process. And I want to give an example of a lady. I don't know where she was from. We have people from all over the world that interact with us. I don't know where this lady was from, but she was in a whole world of pain. She was suicidal, and she basically reached out to you, Jen, and she really needed help right here, right now. There's like a serious triage needed to go on. So, at 1 o'clock in your morning, you responded to her email. So, we're in bed. You responded to the email, and you basically encouraged her to download the SFT tapping protocols from the Genuine Healing website. Which I would encourage anyone to do that's listening to this, and you've got some particular pain points. Go to the Genuine Healing website. That's genuinehealing.com with a Jen, genuinehealing.com, and go to the SFT tapping page, the menu item. You can download the SFT tapping protocols and start using them directly. So what you did to this lady, that woman that was suicidal, she needed relief right here, right now. So you directed her to download the tapping protocols. You gave her then a series of topic areas to do the tapping protocols on, and you gave her, energetic support to do that. And she was thankful for that. But then came back about a couple of weeks later and said, I'm still in a world of pain. Can you help me? And you had to provide a little bit of tough love. And I think you said something like, did you do the tapping? Did you do the homework that I gave you? Because that is the path to your own healing. And she hadn't. And you basically sort of said, look, you had to pull her up a little bit and say, listen, I'm empathetic for where you are in your situation, but you need to do the work, because if you don't do it, no one else is going to be able to do it for you. And that's the God honest truth of things. You do need to take accountability for your own healing and your own getting over the hump. There's a lot of help that you can give them, but they need to do their part.
Yeah, so basically she was trying to emotionally blackmail me. If you don't help me and give me a free session, I'm going to kill myself. And there's so many therapists out there who are falling for that. And that's just an opening to like all this person's dysfunction. So I think personally, the SFT protocols are a great tool for therapists to use to someone who's trying to emotionally blackmail them by saying, I'm going to kill myself. Say, well, okay, download this SFT tapping protocol and put issues in it and do this protocol for yourselves. Of course you want to do this so you don't kill yourself. And if they refuse to do that, what they're telling you by refusing to do that is they don't really want help. They just want to throw their pain onto someone else. And therapists cannot, any healer, um, Western therapists, you can't allow that to happen, because that's why the suicide rate for a therapist is so high, because they allow that to happen. They allow the person in. And these people who are like suffering to that degree are so savvy in how to inflict pain on others just to keep afloat. They're drowning.
So
But
it does remind me a little bit about a person that's drowning and getting, and then inadvertently drowning the lifesaver in the process of trying to save themselves. It's a little bit like that. We were going to do a whole episode of this radio show on suicidal ideation. And so now that we're talking about this particular case study, this particular lady who was basically threatening to, kill herself, can you quickly talk about the the broader context of suicide,
yeah,
and particularly for those that do then follow through, what then happens?
right. That's amazing. Um, yeah, so people think that being in this time and space is so horrific that they want to kill themselves and go to something better. You don't uplift yourself by crossing over. You just crossing over is basically slipping out of your physical skin and continuing where you are. You don't get any benefits just by crossing over. So someone who desecrates their own life by killing themselves basically is at the same spot they were in trauma when they were physical, yet they're more trapped in it because they don't have the physical means of getting free, and they just have to go through the experience even worse. So what they'll probably do is incarnate again with more problems than ever, maybe in a damaged physical body. If they think what they're dealing with now is pain, incarnate again at your own hand and see how rough it really is. So there is a cause and effect to what we do to ourselves. We need to really honor ourselves.
Yeah, and you've said on a number of occasions, because obviously you see the past life engrams, and obviously you've, having had many thousands of lives, in maybe one or a number of them, you may have been inclined to take your life. But Jen, you've said on a number of occasions that those people that then follow through on that suicidal ideation, they immediately regret it on the other side. They
Immediately.
immediately regret it.
Yes, and that's why when a family member kills themselves, that's why there's so much depression in the family of those who are here, because that person who crossed over is now saying, "Oh shit, what did I do?" And then they pull on their loved ones to try to like get some reprieve or get pulled up, and they can't. So what the person who's crossed over is actually pulling the whole family down. And I've had a client very young in my career of this girl who was like so dark and desperate because her brother killed himself. And when her brother killed herself,
Himself.
thank you, when the brother killed himself, she went into this darkness. She was so connected to him that she was experiencing his darkness. So I did a session with her, and then immediately it was like the curtains were opened up, the light came in, and she was relieved instantly. So when a family member kills themselves, you can't save them. You can't. So what you need to do is shut down the energy to them, and you have to just focus on yourself and just cut them dry.
So for those that are possibly in that suicidal ideation space, or having so much pain or trauma that they're sort of wondering, is there ever going to be any reprieve? I think the important thing that we can offer, the relief that we can offer right now, is jump onto the Genuine Healing website, download the SFT tapping protocols. Please do that. And if you want, reach out to Jen on our contact page on the Genuine Healing website, the contact page. Let us know briefly, what's going on, and Jen, you can give them a number of topic areas to do the energetic cleanse on, possibly the PB&J protocol on. but it is a way that you can actively break the circuit between the accumulation of pain, trauma, and anxiety, whatever is going on in your life, and getting beyond the tipping point. So please do that if you're in that mode.
Because the truth of the matter is, you can't kill yourself. You can't. You can kill your physical existence, but you still exist. So wherever you go is just going to be a representative of what you've earned and what you deserve. So you might as well stick around in the physical, because, people are trying to go into this ethereal space where everything is like sunshine and dewdrops. I don't know. But the physical world, the strength and spirituality is accrued by being in the physical world and feeling that gratitude and higher consciousness and calm and peace and manifesting it here in the physical. Everything else is just running away.
Which basically brings up another point then, that if suicide is not a pathway for relief, and it's not, so please don't get down that mind trap. Then your obligation, your duty, in fact, is to resolve the issues in this incarnation. Right now, I know that's a bit of a tough message. A lot of people really do have, a challenging life, but it is your obligation to solve this. And if you don't do it in this life, you'll get an opportunity to do it again and again and again. And at some point, you've got to break that cycle, because here's the thing. In the more cosmic perspective of things, as much as you'll have thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of lives, at the end of the day, the trajectory of all of those lives and the purpose of all of those lives is to transcend the lower worlds and become connected in universal consciousness. And the only way you can do that is to resolve all of the unresolved threads that connect all of these lives as you as an eternal soul. So, as much as a lot of people look for material wealth and they try to find happiness in material things, that's actually not really what you're here to do. It's a means to have a whole bunch of experiences, but the real purpose is to work on and resolve the unresolved threads that connect the many incarnations as you as an eternal soul. That's what you're here to do. And the interesting and the good news, Jen, is that we have a number of people in the genuine healing community that are incredibly committed to that process, and they've been working with us for a very long period of time, and they're doing amazing things.
Yes. And here's a shortcut for those who are in trouble right now out there and are thinking of killing themselves. What you need to do, because you're playing the victim. Oh, it's so awful. Nobody loves me. Everyone beats up on me. It may be true, because you may be not looking at yourself as such a positive force in the world that the negative energy is just glomming on you like dew on a cold glass and trying to collect on you to bring you down. So your whole purpose is not to go down and let it win. Your purpose is to fight it with every tooth and nail means that you have, and the SFT protocol is one of them. So you can transcend all the negativity, like I have. And think about someone like Robin Williams, who brought so much joy and laughter to the world. He killed himself because he couldn't see out of the pain, and he didn't know his own worth. But if he could have saw the trajectory of how much the world needed his laughter and his joy and his presence, he would have got over that inclination to just that end that little string of life that took him out of the physical.
All right. Interesting conversation. I wasn't quite expecting to go down such a heavy topic, but it is what it is. The conversation takes us where I think, the team upstairs wants us to go. And so that's where we went today. We do have a number of people in the studio with us. Thanks for joining us, by the way. If you do want to join us in the studio, jump onto the Genuine Healing website and go to the on-air page, and that'll allow you to book one of our upcoming sessions. We record these for the most part, on Fridays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Work out what time that is for you. Book and come and join us on screen. Can I just ask one thing, though, for those that are listening? Can you please do us the courtesy of actually coming on and meeting your appointment time so that we can help you, because there are a lot of people that need some help out there. Sorry, go before we do.
Can I just say that that's one, as energy beings, that's one huge way that humans dilute their energy, is they say they're going to do something and then they don't do it. So they're splitting their energy in half. Half of their energy is following, spiritual law and being present where they're supposed to be, but the physical part of them is not. So then they're diluted it and cut their effectiveness in half if they continue to do that. It's not good for them.
Not at all. All right, we do have a number of people in. Let's bring someone in. Let's bring Glenda in first.
Good.
And Glenda, if you can unmute yourself, and why don't we start like this? Can you just let the listener know, firstly, where you're from, and provide us a brief description of where you're at in your life and what you'd like some help with? And just as you do that, just be very conscious not to overshare with the audience, because we don't want to transfer pain onto other people. So how would you like help today, Glenda?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm from New Zealand. No, I wouldn't want to overshare, but yeah, no, it's just I guess it's a point of change in my life with the loss of my mother last year, and it's just finding trust in my own decisions, and finding finding my way forward, and finding my bearings, sort of thing.
So I was looking forward to talking to you because I could see in your energy that you have so much wisdom and awareness, and you're like always watching, and you know stuff, and you just are very polite, and you never point it out, but part of you is chomping at the bit to be validated as an individual. Now, you and your mother had such a strong connection. You still, by the way, visit her every night in the dream state. You're still with her all the time. You're laughing and everything. And so it's not like there's a loss with that connection. It's only, you only have that physical. When you wake up, you forget. And, your energy, you kind of know that you're really connected and stuff. But this is your time to hone your point of view, because you don't speak up enough. And I don't think you realize, do you realize that people do respect you?
Probably not.
Right. So here's this thing. There's this, it's like there's an elephant in the room, but it's your wisdom. Like everyone's looking to you to set the stage because you're a pretty aware soul. And so people look to you to set the boundaries of what interactions in the room, and you never do it. You never do it. You just sit back and you're afraid for some reason. Something, you probably in a past life took the vow of silence. So there's a lot of vows that, if we did a private session together, we would recant all your vows. But there's that vow of silence. Yeah, there's a vow of poverty. There's a lot of vows that you took. So you just stop yourself from sharing. So want to do this SFT tap with me to show you, and you feel energy, right? You're frustrated when there's an angry person in the room, and you're frustrated when people derail the group or whatever. So I'm going to give you a statement to say. You're going to say it 3 times. We'll tap in your head, a 4th time we'll tap in your chest, and a 5th time we'll tap in your abdomen. And it's not what you expect it would be. We release letting everyone down in all moments. So say that. We release letting everyone down.
We release letting everyone down.
In all moments.
In all moments.
No, you got to tap while you do it.
We release letting everyone down in all moments.
You got to tap while you do it.
Keep tapping. Keep tapping on top of your head while you're saying it. 3 times.
We release letting everyone down in all moments. We release letting everyone down in all moments. We release letting everyone down in all moments.
Now on the chest.
We release letting everyone down in all moments.
Now
We
on the
release
abdomen.
letting everyone down in
Sorry.
all moments.
Now on the
We
abdomen.
release
Sorry.
letting.
No, just once on the chest and once on the abdomen.
Oh, okay.
3 times on the head, once on the chest, once on the abdomen. There's 5 affirmations.
We release letting everyone down in all moments.
So the reason that was so hard for you is because I kind of took you by surprise, because you're a person who wants to please everyone and you don't want to stir the pot or whatever. And so I shocked your ego by saying, I let everyone down. That's crazy. I do back rolls not to let everyone down. But by doing back bends to not let everyone down, you're letting them down. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Okay, and so let's do one that'll make you feel better. Let's recant your vow of silence, because it's in a past lifetime, you were like in this monastery or whatever, monk, priest, whatever, and you recanted, you said a vow of silence. So let's recant that. We recant our vow. What is it? We recant our vow of silence in all moments.
Can I help you out here just for this one, and then follow what I'm doing, and then you can do the next series of taps. So I'll do it for you. You follow along with me. So Jen, go ahead. What's the tap?
We recant
We
all
recant
vows
our
of
vow.
silence. All vows of silence in all moments.
Okay. You ready? So Glenda, if you can tap along with us. We recant all vows of silence. Tap on your head in all moments. We recant all vows of silence in all moments. We recant all vows of silence in all moments. On the chest, we recant all vows of silence in all moments. Now on the abdomen, we recant all vows of silence in all moments. Get the idea? So there's 3 repetitions while tapping. You got to tap on the head, right? That process of tapping on the head actually wakes the brain up and say, oh, something to pay attention to here. So you do want to do tapping. And by the way, when you repeat the affirmation, repeat them in a strong voice. You're commanding the universe to shift energy. This is not just a silly little incantation or mantra. You are commanding the universe to do something. So you need to take it seriously.
And the whole point about the brain at the beginning of this conversation is the brain is so excited to get something to do. It's like wakes up someone who's been asleep for decades. Wow, I'm finally empowered to do something that I can do. Yes, I can do this. Okay, good. So there's SFT tapping you can do, and I would suggest. I know it's a very painful, vulnerable thing. So if I was you, I would go download the energetic cleanse and do it with losing mom, because you're going to release that. All right.
So,
it's not a
jump
reality.
Jump on the Jenuine Healing website, go into the SFT tapping page, download the SFT protocols, and then you'll find the energetic cleanse protocol. It's one of about 4 or 5 protocols, and do that protocol with the phrase, what is it? Losing our mum.
Or losing mom. Yeah.
Losing mum.
All right, Glenda?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's bring Ashna in. Ashna, as you come on, we should let the listener know that you've been working with us for a very long period of time. So this conversation is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about basically your experience in doing the energy work as someone that's been intimately part of that and some ways down the process. But before you do, can you let the listener know where you're from and where you were when you started and what your experience has been?
I'm from the Netherlands, and I think I found Jen in 2020 when I did my first session. And then over the years, I did more sessions, and I did a lot of group tapping sessions and healing sessions. So yes, and the last months I did two transformations programs. So that was really intense.
So what are the benefits? What keeps you coming back?
The benefits are that I feel the energy when I'm tapping, that something is releasing. So I feel the energy flowing in my body, in my feet, so I know it does shift something. And also in my life, it has become more positive because I used to have the same things happen to me over and over again, and I see that is changing. So that's
Can you
really
tell
positive.
can you tell them the experience of when you finished the second transformation program, what you found?
Um,
The butterfly.
after this, yes,
Okay.
after the second transformation program, I really felt the shift, like more space, more openness, more positivity. And I was because I'm in my transformation session, it was clear that I was more comfortable in the dark. So I made a point to sit in the garden more in the sun. And when I opened the sunscreen, there was this cocoon, and it was just opening up. So that was really a sign from the universe, I think.
So when you say it's just opening up, you watched a butterfly be born, correct?
Yes, yes,
And then you got the memo that the universe was telling you that you're the butterfly.
maybe yes, for sure.
So you
Tell the listener, but it's not all sunshine and roses, is it? Going through your own healing and taking accountability for your own healing. So tell the listener a little bit about, well, the kind of commitment that you decided to put into your own transformation.
Well, I did the first transformation program, um, and I thought I've already done a lot of private sessions, like maybe 10 or 20. So I thought we already dealt and released a lot of issues, but we didn't actually. Be- because I had like thousands of lifetimes. I'm like a really old soul. So we did the transformation program, and all these old lifetimes and traumas came up, and it was really intense. I think I cried every session almost. Yes, and my ego was also stirred. Let's say yeah. So it was really intense. Yeah, it was not always butterflies and sunshine.
so what I'm discovering with you, Ashna, is that the first round of transformational sessions we went through was to fix your physical life and smooth out all these issues that were keeping you from, being aware of yourself as a dynamic being. Because you've told me from the get-go, I don't want to come back again. I don't want to do this anymore. And so you knew the gravity of what you were dealing with. And I think in the second transformational thing, what we did was dislodge the ego. See, what happens with a lot of people is some people feel very empowered and they think that they already have omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, but it's not. It's the ego. It's the ego impersonating the higher self, if that makes sense. So what we did was disavow the ego from impersonating your higher self. Does that make sense? And I'm just figuring out this because Marvin always thought it was just 12 weeks people need. I think if they really want to be an adept or a conscious being, they need 3 rounds. And the third round is to reconnect the higher self with the conscious self and leave the ego out of it. I think there's a clear pathway for that to happen. And I think that happens in the third round of transformation.
I was grateful. I'm grateful that I was one of the first that you can do this with.
Amazing.
In fact, let me tell the listener, Ashna was the first in our. We had only just structured the 12-week transformation program recently, and Ashna was the first, and then we have about a dozen others that have gone through the program. This is my point is that once you realize that the real challenge of an incarnated life is to basically transcend all of the connected stagnant energies from all of the other lives for the purposes of transcending the lower worlds, you very quickly realize that this, in fact, your own wellness and healing and transformation is in fact an ongoing process. So the 12-week transformation program that we put together and the private sessions that you offer, Jen, are a way to kickstart that transformation. But then there's a continuation, and you can either do it self-directed or you can do it as part of the Genuine Healing community. But the point is that your own transformation is an ongoing journey, and there is no such real thing as having arrived. I think that's a misnomer in the kind of the more performative end of the spirituality segment, particularly in social media. There's this sense that, oh, I'm so spiritual, I've arrived, and that's a lot of BS. In fact, you never really arrive. There's always different ways of experiencing your omniscience.
Yeah, and the way I think of it is like Gandhi. Gandhi changed the course of history for maybe the world. And so I think a good tagline for our program is go from a grunt to a Gandhi. And it's like in the first session, you just get over being a grunt and then becoming a walking, breathing change shifter for the world is the third session. But lots of people don't care about that.
I mean, that's the goal, is to do that and basically live your life of passion and purpose, to experience joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success. That's the goal, but that's a lifetime's pursuit, and that's kind of the point of it. So hopefully we can inspire people to take command of their own transformation, and if we can assist, by all means. But the SFT tapping protocols, Jen, are a important tool in your toolbox.
Absolutely. And they're offered from a place not of this world. So my teachers gave it to me to give to everyone else so they can at least tap into their teachers, or know the difference between working with a teacher and being duped by your own ego. There's that.
All right, Jen, and those that are in the studio with us, it's time for us to wind down. Thank you very much for joining us. A couple of calls to action. Jump onto the Genuine Healing website, download the SFT tapping protocols, start using them, be proactive in your own healing. I think that's the core message of today. Secondly, come and join us in the studio. We record these Fridays, 4 p.m. Pacific time, and the only thing you need to do is jump onto the Genuine Healing website, find the on-air page. It's genuinehealing.com/on-air. Jump onto that page and then book for an upcoming recording session. You can spend one-on-one time with Jen, as Glenda and Ashna did today. The other thing is drop us a line, and again, jump onto the Genuine Healing website, hit the contact page, say hello, let us know a little bit about yourself so that you can be part of the Genuine Healing community. Thanks everyone for joining us. Look forward to catching you next time. Bye for now.
Bye for now, everyone.